fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for
Thanks
sure.
for being here.
Yes, I'm so excited. Like, I met them at the Latino Festival here in Cedar Rapids, which was pretty dope. I did not know we had that much Latinos here in Cedar Rapids. So it's like, what were you guys doing hiding? You know what I mean?
Everybody just finally groups up. That's when you realize how many there are. But everybody's so spread out, so you wouldn't know.
Well, even that festival, I don't think it did it justice. Like,
No,
They
years
were,
ago
like-
it used to be like way bigger than that.
No way.
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck? This is huge. I thought it was huge. So the fact that it could get bigger, that is crazy to me. But so, what's your guys' slogan, and like, what is your podcast all about?
You want to take this?
well, our podcast is about, being too Latino for your white friends and too white for your Latino friends. Just being caught between two worlds. I think that.
We know that all too well. And that's why we call it, Chicano and Chingon, because Chicano is for Mexican Americans, and then Chingon means. Are we allowed to swear?
Yeah, that's fine.
Fucking awesome. So,
Or BA. you know what BA stands for, right? Bad ASS.
Oh,
Isn't that
no.
what Chicano
I'll say
is?
those words for you. Badass.
I know, I was like, please, dude, chime in real quick.
I was trying to
Got you.
pretend I knew what that meant. I didn't think you were going to ask me what it was.
Girl, so this is actually a very informative podcast. Even if you don't ask, we're going to tell you information.
Thank God.
We get deep here. Where is it? Wrong one.
I changed your voice effect.
Oh, shit. There you go.
Every other sound first.
It's because I don't have headphones on right now. There's not enough. There's not
I'm
enough
gonna get
inputs. I can hear it. There's not enough inputs for the headphones on this device, but it's okay because I kind of like I've done it before with TNT, and like we good over here. I just be loud. I mean, then you guys are gonna hear me loud.
I mean, it sounds fine to me. You're not getting too loud. I think we
All
already
right,
got pretty
bet.
loud already.
Fine over here.
Is the live up yet? I was trying to share it.
It is
again.
up now, yeah. It's up.
Oh! I want to share that. I don't mean to keep leaning
Oh
out of
no,
the
you're
shot.
fine. Okay, so we could do a little intermission. We're gonna share the live so all of you guys can be on here. Let me see if there's some cool music. Nope.
That was perfect.
There you go.
I love it.
We're just gonna share it on our things. This helps me as the editor to not have to stop my very busy life just to edit, which is freaking amazing.
Facts.
So it's raw too, so you guys can see like everything undone like before editing. Which like for my guest, be careful what you say. You could cuss, you could do all that, but like I don't know. We could talk cheese in it too as long as we don't name drop.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
much it.
I try to refrain from that in general in the show.
Oh.
I learned my
I'm
lesson.
trying to find a
I clearly don't.
like a mustache picture.
It's all good. So I was gonna talk about like how I guess my experience of being too Mexican for the Americans and then too American for the Mexicans. That even in Mexico they don't consider us Mexican.
Yeah,
Like,
they just call us gringos too, and I'm
they
like,
do this.
damn.
It's crazy. They're like, oh, you're not really Mexican. It's just your heritage. It's just like your bloodline. And I'm just like,
well, then what is Mexican?
Yeah, like then what am I like?
Yeah,
What
try
is your
telling that to
It felt-
people here.
then?
Yeah,
Like,
right?
make it make sense.
What
It
is it?
feels like opposite. It feels very like backwards racism. Honestly,
Yeah.
If-
I feel like a lot of cultures experience that. Like
Yeah.
you might like even being a black person
yeah.
of color. It's just like they get it too. Either you're too black or you're too light skinned, and it's wild to watch that happen within cultures.
It is crazy, and it's just like, why are we doing too much? Like for real. Like
Yeah.
we're all obviously America itself is a melting pot. So that's why I feel like it's more confusing for us who are people of color that are in here. We grab our heritage like it's freaking like if we were born there, even though we know we weren't, because everybody is so different and like nobody is. That's just being American. I feel like.
Yeah, and I feel like in the U.S. compared to other countries, culture and heritage has a whole other meaning. Because, there's, I mean, obviously there's culture and practices that go on in Mexico, but the way we embrace it here in the U.S., it's a lot different. And so that makes it even more hurtful when Mexicans are like, you're not Mexican.
Is heritage more like where you come from, and culture is more like your traditions that you carry from your heritage?
I would say... See, I know what the two words mean, but then as soon as you ask me to differentiate them, I struggle.
I guess I haven't thought about that actually either, because
I feel like they're very similar, heritage and culture. I feel like
I think heritage is more directly to you, and culture, or heritage is more directly related to you, and culture would be more like what's happening around you. And
like you can adopt.
Yeah, like you just kind of bring that into your own life.
Alexa, what's heritage mean?
Hereditary is a 2018 drama film starring Toni Collette, Millie Shapiro, and Gabriel Byrne. The grieving family is haunted by...
I don't get
it. It does nothing.
I don't know. Alexa, stop.
Just stop. Girl, let's stop.
Just stop, for real. Like,
she tried.
Where's the boo? No. Where's the boo?
What is going on with the buttons today?
It's because I can't hear them. No, I'm just kidding. I can read.
Oh, man. I can read. I swear I can read.
Yeah, there you go. That's for you, Alexa. Thank you very much.
Wasting our time.
So pretty much the experience that I was just talking about was one from not necessarily mine, but there was someone recently that I'm very close to that they experienced that, like somebody from the motherland, that's what we call it. Motherland. Just, said that somebody wasn't Mexican. And I was hurt. I was like, even though that wasn't to me, that felt like it was a slap in the face to me.
Yeah.
And I just think it's crazy. But like Kelly said, it's true. And Kelly even experiences it because she is a melting pot.
I get asked a lot if I'm Hispanic, and they ask me in Spanish, and I tell them in Spanish that I don't speak Spanish, and then they don't believe me.
Yeah, and that happens.
That is literally all the Spanish I know. Like,
that is
muy poquito.
It's so weird, but that happens at my work because I work in a Mexican restaurant, and so we have plenty of employees who aren't Mexican, don't speak any Spanish, but some of them are mixed. So like customers will come in like, you speak? Yeah, they just start speaking Spanish. Like one of our bartenders, she goes, I don't speak Spanish. Like, yeah, you do. And they just keep going. And it's like, why?
Like, well, if you don't want to be heard, keep talking.
Yeah, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That means the cactus on the forehead. So it's like, you look indigenous, pretty much. It's like, you look Mexican, so you can't say you're not Mexican.
Yeah.
So
then that's backwards compared to what you guys are speaking on right now. Because it's like, if I look enough Mexican,
but then now you're not.
Assume, but if I was actually Mexican, I wouldn't be Mexican enough. I guarantee it.
You are, but you're not. But you are like a little bit, but not enough.
And that's literally your guys' whole theme, your whole thema is like you're just like not enough for anything, and that's crazy. Like
I feel like a lot of not to switch the subject over, but I feel like a lot of mixed people encounter that as well.
Yeah,
it's like you can't tell what they're mixed with. People are just gonna either fill in the blanks.
They're just gonna
guess. Then, like even with Mexican heritage, like I'm sure that people assume because it's just even based off skin color that you might be another part of the Hispanic heritage or culture. And it's like
that happens a lot in the restaurant for sure. Like because we have a lot of Guatemalans working in the restaurant.
Guatemalans, I like that.
No, and they get assumed that they're all Mexicans working in the kitchen when it's like it's a mixing pot here too.
Literal melting pot, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
No,
everything
for real. Like I be thinking, like I feel like all of us Hispanics we look very similar, and so I'm like, as a Mexican, I understand why people like misinterpret of like who is. It's like, yes, it's still being racist because we're not all Mexican, and then I know specific like Guatemalans, they hate being called Mexicans.
I know there's Latinos who like hate Mexicans for it. Like fucking Mexicans. Like, I'm not Mexican.
Like, I'm freaking Mexican, and it's like, well, of course they don't know because like
I feel like it's a soft spot. If you've been told that so many times over the years, then you have to keep coming behind it and basically, telling them like, hey, I actually am not. Like at some point, it's just a sore spot.
It really is.
I totally get the frustration.
Talking about this, why is it even a necessary conversation?
And then like that reminds me of there was somebody else that had a podcast here, and like Kelly said, he was mixed, but he looks white. And he's like, and I hate it because I was raised more on my black side than I was on my white side. So I feel black. I am black.
Yeah.
But when people look at me, they don't see black.
I know a lot of people like that. Like they grew up with a culture and in an environment where they are black, and then they get older and people are like, stop pretending like you're not black.
Yeah,
and like that's gotta be so frustrating. Yeah.
I have a little, I don't know what to call it, accent, a little twang,
I
have people tell me like, you're white, so why don't you talk white? And I'm like, what does talk white sound like?
Yeah.
Because I'm Kelly. I talk like Kelly. Like, if you get me spicy, I talk spicy. If you get me cool, calm, and collected, that's what you get. And
that is so true. And then
what it is.
When you're hanging out with like me and Brenda, so like our other Mexican friend, then you get spicy. It's like, I'm a chameleon, okay?
Well, also it's normal for humans in general just kind of like adopt whatever's around them. Because when I'm at work and I'm speaking Spanish and then I switch to English, it doesn't always go right to like an American accent.
That's beautiful though. I love that.
We learned the slang from the other coworkers too. Like we learned Portuguese and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot of different, so you're speaking like Spanglish and or if you're speaking in Spanish and I don't know, you're referring to something in English, you're not just gonna say like, oh yeah, me voy a Walmart. I'm not gonna say Walmart. You're like, voy a Walmart.
You do say Walmart with a little twang.
Yeah, like I think
Walmart.
Like we're like, it's because like whenever
your tongue is adapted to how you're already.
Yeah, you gotta shift your whole mouth. Yeah,
because it's totally indifferent.
No, it's because we literally went to Walmart together, and I was telling you, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna say Walmart. They throw off the T. Walmart. Yeah, you got it.
And I hit the T so hard. Walmart.
Going to wall. To the mark.
Going to the mark.
My sister would call it Wally World. I like that.
I called it that for a
That's
long
cute.
time.
I like it. So, like, you guys were raised here. Like, you guys grew up here in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
So, I bet it's harder because, like, I grew up around Hispanics.
Yeah.
And, like, we were the majority. We lived in a small factory town. You know, that's why we were the majority. But, like, how is it growing up with the majority actually being, like, Caucasian?
It's definitely odd because our dad, he's from Mexico City and our mom's from California, and
you know the racial term for that?
The chilangos. Yeah.
Chilangos.
We were just talking about that the other day actually. I've
so
never
it's actually they
that.
hate being called chilangos. But
do
like,
chilangos.
I was like, it's just a thing. She's like, don't teach me those things.
Don't teach me what I can't say.
You gotta know
like,
these first.
I like that.
For somebody else makes you repeat it. The wrong person.
True.
Yeah.
So it's just like how. Yeah.
Open for it all.
Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. My dad's from Mexico City. My mom's from California. She's not Mexican, but Spanish was her first language. So we kind of, it's kind of cool. She's kind of like more Mexican than us because she can cook the food, she can speak it. She's like in the culture. Yes. So growing up, I think we got like when we have a lot of family in Cedar Rapids too, like we have a big family, so we gotta celebrate, like we gotta speak Spanish at home, we gotta eat Mexican food, we gotta like embrace our culture, and we had all the parties, all the traditions and stuff. But then you go to school and it's like
it's a complete flip. Like
because I knew in elementary school, throughout my whole all my years in elementary school, I only knew 2 other kids who were Mexican or like Latino at all, and one of them left. So it was just me and this one other kid in 1 grade. But it's just like it's all the time. Somebody's asking you like, "Oh, can you say something in Spanish?"
Or
like
speak Spanish,
just like it. Yeah,
Oh
it never ends.
goodness.
So you go there. And you're kind of almost like a spectacle, like it's.
I feel like if I went to Japan, I'd be that person.
Right.
I would be taller than everybody, and they'd just be.
They're gonna be like looking at you.
Right.
Well, also your hair would stand out so easily.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
Actually, talking about Japan, I have a friend
so
that's
bad.
black that he went to Japan and he said, they love us. And I go, what you mean? He was like, they just love us like we're celebrities. And I was like, I can see that though.
That's cute.
Because they're not used to, like, they're very populated. You know?
Yeah. So they don't really get to experience other
there you go. So they're very respectful, and they're like, can I take a picture? Which is beautiful,
because if there's that lack of diversity, how do they know how to encourage other cultures to come in and be a part? You know, so is it inclusive? Is it not inclusive? Right. But it sounds like it is. It sounds like they just kind of embrace you for who you are.
It sounds like a nice curiosity. It's like, I don't know, it's very...
Well, I think like Europe, when you go to Europe, you're like, oh, Americans. It's like, oh, sorry.
I think Japan was cut off from the world for like since like the early 1900s or 1800s.
1800s, I think. A little while after the Industrial Revolution, Japan was kind of isolated. So
then they started joining everybody, talking to everybody.
Like, this shit is cool.
So what do you guys think? Actually, that brings me to like one of my other points of like being Hispanic and being like raised here. So we're Chicanos. That's pretty much the interpretation of being like Mexican American. And so it's kind of like we made our own ethnicity when we started coming over here. Yeah. But like being a Chicano, I've realized we have a way different mentality than people who are raised in Mexico. It's very still like conservative. Well, not conservative, like old fashioned.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah. So I feel like our generation, especially, we're trying to break those generational curses.
Yeah.
And it's like, with that, like, even Kelly, like, we actually have the Journey program. And in the Journey program itself, I feel like we break generational curses. Because we build, like, the kids with, like, the, what is it called again? The...
Confidence, courage. Oh, the core values.
Yeah, the core values. wait, I gotta learn for this. We have like a lot of core values, and I didn't even know that I raised my kids on those core values until she like put a name to it. I was like, oh, you do that. Nice. And so with doing it, we really did it like really hardcore in the summer, and like it was just so awesome because we have such a diverse group. And like you said, like my kids go to school with primarily Caucasian kids. So when I'm bringing them here, they get to experience other diversity and realize that they're not alone. Yeah. But in different forms of it, like black kids, Asian kids, like we have a little bit of everything.
It's not just other Hispanic kids you get in. That's really important for kids. Yeah. That's why I do think public school is really good for kids in that aspect. There's a lot more
to see different things and like maybe sometimes it is bad, but you know.
Oh no, there's plenty of downsides of public school, but that's the one positive I'll give it.
Let's just think about that. Yeah. Right. But like breaking those generational curses, like one thing I do is like gentle parenting. Right? Our people will look at us. I've had my dad come visit and be like, "Why aren't you spanking him already?" And I was like,
it's so normalized.
I'm not gonna do that. Like, I don't do that. And my dad was like, what do you mean? And once I explained it to him, he was like, oh, that actually makes sense. So now I've just called it like conscious parenting because I'm like certain discipline is called for certain things, just like when you go to a judge, right? Yeah. Conscious parenting, because it's not like that I'm giving them whatever they want and that's like their... like what people normally think that you're just like, oh, it's okay, honey, they can do whatever they want. No, it just means that you're gently approaching the situation. That way you can figure out.
You're thinking through what it is that they are going through that's causing the behavior that you're about to reprimand them for, and it will then cause you to pick the correct behavior redirection in order to reprimand them correctly and not cause emotional damage.
Yes, exactly. And just to give them a voice, because we've all been there, especially if people of color. We've been shut down too long. Like, it's time to break those freaking generational curses.
That's really sweet, though, because I think about my parents and their upbringing, especially my dad growing up in Mexico City. Like, the way his parents treated him growing up, my dad, obviously, he has that effect on him still of what they did parenting him. But you can tell he really tried to make a difference with us. Like,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, like, he's like, I don't want to hit my kids. Not like that. He's like, I don't even like yelling at them that much. So when he does yell at me, oh my God.
I know.
That's so scary to endure. That's because it's like, I'm not used to this. What are you doing?
I know. I start laughing.
Oh no, because you're nervous.
Yeah. Oh, and he starts yelling more. So.
Yeah, when we both get in trouble and we both start laughing is...
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, that's when the cinto comes out. See, that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Oh my god, we would be doing that in front of our mom. When our mom's yelling, it's scary, but
It is.
it happened more often than her dad yelling. But there'd be times she's chewing us both out. We're both just like,
oh no,
okay. And then she loses her mind. Yeah,
that would be me.
For real,
my two littles, they like to test my
kids. Let's just take a moment of silence.
Literally while we can until we go back to them.
They be like, for real. Oh my gosh. No, but man, it's just something that I really think, like, I kind of feel like I owe it to our ancestors to do this for my kids, because my mom was also like a conscious parent, because when she divorced my dad, she was going through what is it called, postpartum, right? And so she would black out, and so she didn't realize that she was beating us, right? Until she realized that, like, she would get out of the being blacked out and be like, oh shoot, like, I don't want this for my kids. So she went to go see a therapist, and like she learned all the conscious ways of like how to like kind of like take a pause and like just, you know, take a moment and then reprimand us the way that we need to be. And so I feel like I kind of got a little like step further, kind of like what you guys said about like your dad did certain things. My mom could yell and I would be good with it. Like, she did not, I don't remember the last time she hit me, but I remember the last, like, I was super young. Like, she never had to, like, really, you know, go that far with me because I was good.
Yeah, same with my mom. Yeah, I could count the times, and the times I can count, I'm like, yeah, I actually kind of deserve that. Yeah.
It was like,
right?
it was usually like the fear coming up and then like the slap on the back of the head, really. But it wasn't. It didn't really go much further.
It's the build up.
Yeah. And see, that's what I've seen. Like, what would you call it? Speakers talking about like not raising kids on fear, but I'm like, I like with experiencing gentle parenting myself, it's not that we want to instill fear in them, but it's like, but you also need to get them ready somewhat for the real world, because if I'm only gentle on them, like, yes, it's a safe space, but at the same time they need to know that there's consequences. For their actions.
That part.
Because if you're only their friend, then they just kind of lose a little bit of respect, I imagine, for authority. So,
and it's
like
a
little bit softer than you actually are.
Yeah,
and it's
like I could be friendly or I could be very unfriendly. It's your choice. You get to choose.
Because in the real world, the boss is not going to be nice.
Yeah.
The boss is not going to be. The cops are not nice. Talk about police brutality. Like, they're not saying we have to be brutal, right? But we have to just educate them.
Yeah.
So that we can make our generation, the next generation, better and better. And especially being people of color, I feel like we owe it to our ancestors.
Yeah.
And it's like, we already have...
teaching my boys about that because they are people of color. And it's like, there's a certain way to move through the world, unfortunately, that you have to be aware of. And you need to be understanding that there is consequences for your actions.
For real. And that, like, being somebody of color, when you look like you're somebody of color, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm teaching my kids too, is like, you have to be careful how you approach people. You have to be careful even with your emotions, because if you be emotional, just like, let's say you're one of your peers, now you're the one that's more dramatic just because you're a person of color. That's just the concentration, or what's it called?
You kind of had to be like at a higher standard than everybody else, almost.
Yeah, connotation. It sounds like, I don't even know. I can't say that word.
Connotation?
Condensation?
No, it sounds like that. Yeah, like, I can't.
Let's just say fog.
Let's just say fog. That's hilarious. But no, it's just, you know, having to do that, and it sucks that we have to, but at the same time, like, I would rather prepare them for the real world and be like, because you're a person of color, you are going to be looked at different. You have to act better.
It's such a hard conversation.
It is.
Because, like, you don't even want to put that perspective on them to make them aware that the world even is like that. But then it's like, okay, I have a 15-year-old. He's of age to start driving and all that. So it's like, I get really nervous about all that. Like, moving around in the world by himself and all that, and he is a darker skinned mixed man.
He is.
Young man, I should say. So I'm like, man, I had that conversation.
He looked like a grown man.
I had to have the pretty privileged conversation with him because he's like, people interact with me weird, and I was like, there's one of two things happening. I was like, it's either because you're a person of color and they just simply don't know how to interact with you because for some reason there's that generalization that there's intimidation when you're a tall black man. But also on top of that, you are a handsome individual, so people are going to interact with your energy weird in that capacity. So they're either going to be weird with you because they don't know how to talk to somebody who looks nice, or they are weird or rude to somebody who is because they have some type of jealousy factor or their own issues. But at the end of the day, those are the really hard conversations to have with your kids. 'Cause it's like, who prepares you for that? Right. Especially coming from a white family. Like, I looked at that conversation like, I really have to pay attention to how I approach this and make sure I'm respecting him as an individual and a person of color. It's like, how do I do this without sounding like a freaking hypocrite, honestly? Because it's like, I'm not able to really understand the perspective, but I've put myself in a position to try my best to understand the perspective.
Well, that's one of the biggest things that you made me think of when it comes to generational trauma and stuff. Yeah. Like, me and my dad just had a conversation about this. Like, I feel like when it comes to teaching me things, like, for example, cars and stuff, he was always way more understanding. He's like, this is something that I had an issue with, whatever, but then he compares it to, like, when he was with his dad. He's like, this is just the way that it is. Like, just don't ask any more questions. That's just the way that it is. And
because I said so.
Yeah, because I said so.
I love rebuttaling that.
I
love
know,
it. Because
right?
when my parents throws that at me, I'm like, okay, it might have been the way that it was, but that doesn't mean that it's how it works now.
Yeah.
And, like, the world moves and evolves and all that forward. Like, there's no way that we should just stay stuck in one type of perspective when you know that multiple can help or make it better.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, just move forward.
For real.
Take what works from that scenario and that tactic and move forward with it and evolve it into something that works for more.
Literally. And I think that's a freaking good note to end on. We have some people that we have to, like, meet for this room because the studio is busy. But I really do appreciate your guys' input on this, and I feel like we could go for hours on generational curses. Because,
all of it.
Like, I mean, we could literally go really, really into depth, and we're going to keep doing the podcast, and I know you guys are going to keep doing the podcast. Guys, you guys can go over to theirs after you watch this one. Go over to theirs and go watch their podcast, Mango Mustache Media, and also Chicano Chingon. And, we'll see us next time. We're definitely going to be doing this again.
For sure.
We always have really good conversations. Yeah, I'm excited for the next one.
Definitely.
All right, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of fun.
Yay.
Thank you.
You guys did great.